more than 3 million illegals voted, more than 3 million dead people voted. It's like 7 million you add it all together. That's admitted, even mainstream news. You've lost by 2 million, they're claiming. Even in states that don't have electronic voting, they're putting out fake numbers like Michigan. You need to watch out. This is real. Like, oh, we won. That's a bunch of bull. Well, now Trump knows it's serious because they mean business. He's 54 days out. They can stage false flags, race riots. I mean, they are pulling out all the stops, people. They know Trump's for real. Things are more crazy now than they were. We're actually winning. I didn't even know this happened. He tweeted about an hour ago. Kit Daniels has written about it. We're going to add 2 videos I shot a few days ago, but also a few weeks ago, where I said Trump won the popular vote. And now Trump's come out and pointed that out. Trump, I won popular vote if illegal voters excluded. That's on Infowars.com. We need maximum coverage of this article. President-elect Donald Trump had this to say in response to the ongoing Democratic push for an election recount. Limits to only states Trump won. Yeah, again, only the states he won. And he went on to break down that all the illegals and dead people voted. And if you count them out, he won by 6-7 million votes. Take 2 million out, he won by 5 million votes. That's up on Infowars.com. We're going to add these 2 videos that I shot on Monday. There they are. Proof Donald Trump won the popular vote, and proof Donald Trump won popular vote, Dems trying to overturn election. And what happened is I shoot a tape feed so I can add documentation, and also shoot a live feed of the tape feed. One's got 100,000 views. One's got 250,000 views. These things need 10 million views to counter the globalists. So there you go. I haven't even gotten into where Julian Assange is and how suspicious this all is. WikiLeaks admit he's on house arrest now. They basically got him locked up. They're at that South American embassy in London. So all that's coming up tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time. But this article, Trump, I won popular vote if illegal voters excluded. That is exactly what happened. And then you had, you know what, let's add the Bev Harris interview November 9th, where she broke down that Hillary tried to steal an election but failed. I should probably change the headline because it was like Hillary stole 5 states, but Trump still won. But let's add that video, too, because this is key intel for Trump and his people. They have got to get ahead of this. They're trying to delegitimize, folks. One of the biggest landslides ever. Hillary was involved in fraud everywhere. Bev Harris is a big liberal. She only tells the truth, folks. She's exposed Republicans' crap over and over and over again. And she came on my show the day after, and she said, look at all these anomalies. 5 states where, you know, it was very close margins, 100% in some areas voting for Hillary. That's BS, folks. And it's all late at night, right when they're trying to stuff everything. And they tried the same thing in the battleground state. She lost, but his tsunami victory was so big they failed. Whew, man, that's amazing. So that's up on Infowars.com. Let's get this article out to everybody. This is big news. Well, let's go to DrudgeReport.com because he's got the headline. She's back. You know, globals were just plotting a week ago for their survival now. She's back. Looks like she's dying. But it's okay. She's back in the recount, something she said she'd never do because there's no such thing. She is back, ladies and gentlemen, with a vengeance. Never going to stop like the Energizer Bunny. The gift, like herpes, that just keeps on giving. Clinton campaign will participate in Wisconsin recount with an eye on outside interference. Lawyers say, I told you, the Russians did it. That's right. They can barely run their own country. They got Soros trying to collapse them. But the Russians was in the New York Times. Like, InfoWars is run by the Russians. Boy, I sure wish they were running things. Where's the paycheck? Where's the money? I was sitting there on Thanksgiving evening thinking about Donald Trump and his wild card, his Trump card of exposing government-sponsored terror and how the Republicans and Democrats worked with the Saudis on 9/11, knowing I've talked to congressmen and women and Black Ops commanders and others about what's in the 28 pages. They've said what's in it, that our government stood down on 9/11. Well, FBI agents said that at the time. They were in the newspapers. They're like, well, I thought the FBI is corrupt. No, their agents on average aren't, but the top is. This all came out in the news, folks. I was on the radio then. I covered it every day. And then out of Fox 9, that is in New Jersey and New York, the top station, Trump on 9/11 said there had to be bombs in those buildings. If he was an insider, folks, the word had gone out to cover up the bombs. The firefighters expose it. The police expose it. I've interviewed firefighters, police. I've interviewed a deputy police chief. Interviewed a deputy fire chief. Leanne has as well. One of her interviews has 6 million views. Look it up for yourself. So it's a big deal to have him doing this. It just signifies how independent he is and how he's his own man and why that pisses them off so much and why that scares them. So here's Donald Trump on bombs inside Tower 1 and Tower 2 on September 11th, 2001.
Great. Donald, you're probably the best-known builder, particularly of great buildings in the city. There's a great deal of question about whether or not the damage and the ultimate destruction of the buildings was caused by the airplanes, by architectural defect, or possibly by bombs or aftershocks. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it was an architectural defect. You know, the World Trade Center was always known as a very, very strong building. Don't forget, that took a big bomb in the basement. Now, the basement is the most vulnerable place because that's your foundation. And it withstood that. And I got to see that area about 3 or 4 days after it took place because one of my structural engineers actually took me for a tour because he did the building. And I said, I can't believe it. The building was standing solid and half of the columns were blown out. I mean, so this was an unbelievably powerful building. If you know anything about structure, it was one of the first buildings that was built from the outside. The steel, the reason the World Trade Center had such narrow windows is that in between all the windows you had the steel on the outside. So you had the steel on the outside of the building. That's why when I first looked, and you had big, heavy I-beams, when I first looked at it, I couldn't believe it because there was a hole in the steel. And this is steel that was, you remember the width of the windows in the World Trade Center, folks. I think, you know, if you were ever up there, they were quite narrow. And in between was this heavy steel. I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747, or whatever it might have been, how could it possibly go through the steel? I happen to think that they had not only a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously, because I just can't imagine anything being able to go through that wall. Most buildings are built with the steel is on the inside around the elevator shaft. This one was built from the outside, which is the strongest structure you can have, and it was almost just like a can of soup.
You know, Donna, we were looking at pictures all morning long of that plane coming into building number 2, and when you see that approach the far side, and then all of a sudden, within a matter of a millisecond, the explosion pops out the other side.
Right. I just think that it was a plane with more than just fuel. I think, obviously, they were very big planes. They were going very rapidly.